Hey everyone, my name's Tani Nguyen. I'm here with my friend Rob Rowsell.
So my name is Rob Rowsell. I live here in Las Vegas, Nevada. My wife and I work as a team. We're business owners. We're multifamily investors. We're syndicators, and that's our day job.
So everyone, this is who I'm gonna be joining. We're gonna go to Tijuana together, and we met less than 6 months ago, actually, at another mastermind. So, which is hilarious how the stars just kind of aligned, and we started talking about like shared values and the things that we want to do and accomplish in life. And I'm like, how cool is it if we get our time together and just talk about it and share what we're doing with others? And today happens to be the day. So yay.
I'm really, really excited to have you come down with us. Mm-hmm. It's going to be it's our first time. It's our maiden voyage, actually going down into Tijuana, coming up alongside the ministry called Homes of Hope that builds homes all the time down there. And I was there in May of 2022 with my church as an attendee, and the Lord just touched my heart and said, you know what, you need to be using your influence and your philanthropy money towards the kingdom, and you should be taking people down here. So you have the pleasure of being on our maiden voyage of actually doing and being obedient to the tug of the Holy Spirit to actually get this done. So I'm very excited about it.
Not once did he tell me that there's going to be amazing tacos.
But there will be. Little do you know that on Saturday night, we have a taco vendor coming in and a churro vendor. So there'll be a taco truck and a churro truck. And we're actually that's a surprise nobody knows about. But now you know, the cat's out of the bag.
That's phenomenal. I'm so excited for that. What I wanted to talk about from the book is that you mentioned like the law of exposure, right? That's something that really resonates with me, and I think not a lot of people know about it because phenomenally, like people only hear of the law of attraction because The Secret kind of made it so big. Can you tell us more about law of exposure and what that is?
Chapter 7 of my book is named You've Got to Understand the Law of Exposure. And the law of exposure simply says this: what I expose myself to, I shall become. And I personally feel as if it is reliable as the law of gravity, because it's that simple. You know, whether it's good or bad, and we expose ourselves to things without ever actually being around those things, such as the things we watch, our media intake, which is so prevalent nowadays. We're all exposing ourselves not just to CNN and TV anymore, but the sitcoms that we watch, the podcasts that we listen to, the crime TV that we watch. That's all molding us and our subconscious mind, as well as, you know, I always use in my book, I use a couple of analogies. It's one of the reasons why people say "pak the ka" and the Harvard Yard up in Boston. It's one of the people in Texas say "y'all." It's why a lot of people end up working in the same industry as their parents. And I as a Christian man that wants to be the best version of himself, I know that I need to hang around other Christian men that want to be the best that they possibly can be as well. That's what's going to make that happen.
Yeah, I do strongly agree with that. It's kind of like what, obviously people say like you are the average of 5 people, right? But our community here in Las Vegas, I think it's so much more bigger than that, because like I felt like since we decided on like having a collective shift of like movers and shakers and deciding to make each other better, I firmly believe that like iron sharpens iron. So once our paths kind of aligns, I'm like, wow, like I really feel like a strong gravitation pull towards this person. Like, why is that? So once I read your book, I'm like, oh, okay, now I know why. And I know that before, you know, giving any of your books away, besides, you know, what we just talked about, like, how do you feel that manifests itself in terms of like how people make their decisions to lead their own lives?
Well, coming from the streets and being homeless and addicted to drugs and alcohol, I know that I became that person that was living on the streets, homeless and addicted to crystal meth and crack cocaine, because I hung around those people, right? The old saying goes, if you hang around a barbershop long enough, you're going to end up with a haircut. No question about it, right? And if I hang around bank robbers long enough, I'm going to end up driving the getaway car. It's really that simple. The way it's manifested itself in my own life is by getting around the people that are wanting to be the best versions of themselves, that are doing those things and creating the daily habits necessary to be the best version of themselves. I've also acclimated to that same lifestyle. So things like, for me, you know, my spiritual disciplines, being in the Word, prayer, Christian authored books, church, not just being an attender, but being a member of my church, my place of worship, going to the gym on a regular basis, which makes me feel good. When I feel good, it makes me look good. When I look good, I feel good. When I feel good, I do good, right? So all of that are just our daily habits, right? As well as being around people that, hey, I'm not always up. I'm a very motivated, positive person, but I'm not always that way. I need to be around people that are that way a lot of the time as well, so that when I'm not feeling 100%, they uplift me back to the level that I should be.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like you have to vibrate kind of like on the same harmony as the frequency that you want to put out there and what you want to attract as
Amen.
well, right?
Yes.
So what going on from that, like, is there a moment in time to where I know that, for me, what was really powerful is the start of your book is like, you just got to be done, right? And people always say that to me. They're like, hey, like, why did you change so much? And before even reading your book, I'm like, I just got tired of my own shit. Like, I
Right.
literally just woke up. I'm like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to wake up with the same problems, the same mindset or whatever, like lies I was telling myself, the little excuses that I was putting out there. And I'm like, I don't really want to attract that, right? Because that's exactly what you said.
Amen.
It's the more you put things out there, the more you're going to get back. It's reaping what you sow.
Amen.
And I feel like another thing that's really powerful, speaking on habits, is like, what are your spending habits like? Because I know people are like, you guys are probably bajillionaires, and I just want to know, like, at the basics finance level, what are your spending habits like?
Well, good for you for asking. So the honest answer to that question is, I believe, once you get to a certain level with finances and you can afford many, many things that you don't necessarily need, it's really a matter of living in the lane I call your values, right? Living within your values, not your ego, right? So the level of vehicle that I could be driving that really doesn't attract me anyway. So it's not even enticing to me to drive the level of cars that I see some people driving that our society accepts as being a sign of affluence. I don't necessarily need those things, but I guess it's all perspective and who you ask, because even living within my lane of values, some people would look at my lifestyle and maybe wonder if I've stepped outside of that lane, because that's their lane, right? So their lane might be a lot smaller, but I have learned that I can still be a good steward of God's money and still live a life of affluence at the level that I feel is comfortable. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, that does make sense, because automatically I think what the biggest misconception people think about is like when you reach a certain point, like they say, like once you've made it, right? And the biggest thing that no one, I feel like, talks about is the lifestyle inflation that comes with it. So it's a really good way of you putting it. It's just like kind of spending within your means and within your values doesn't mean that you can't be into materialistic things. It's just, if it resonates with you, go for it. And then if not, like, why are you spending money doing things that are, out of your alignment? Another thing, like, I'm always wondering is just like, what do you think currently, like, people are addicted to besides like drugs and alcohol that no one talks about? Like, what are some of the silent addictions that you feel like it's killing us?
Probably one of the biggest addictions I see is people needing to be accepted. And social media has really accelerated that, like accentuated it, like on steroids. And the reason I say that is because it's so easy to like people's posts or to have things shared or the number of views that are seen, and that's seen as having been accepted. So when we're not getting those likes or those followers or those shares or views or whatever that is, we're feeling as if we're not having success in that area. We're not liked, we're not accepted. So I think that's an addiction. I really do. I think I call it brain candy, right? Scrolling through all the social medias as I don't have to work to do that. It numbs me for a little while. And I know that other people can relate to that. So I think that's an addiction. I think there's an addiction to, I think honestly, and a lot of people don't know this, and I don't talk about it too deeply in my book, but I'm a recovered compulsive gambler as well. Because when I was doing dope at 2:00 in the morning, where else do you go but the casinos? Well, what an amazing God I serve, that now as a recovered compulsive gambler, I have moved since recovering to the city of Las Vegas. Is that an amazing story or what?
I think that's what we call irony, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. With the slot machines and 7-Elevens.
I don't think you can even like go to the bathroom without seeing any kind of like machines or to a bar or anything. I didn't realize that before I moved here either. Because that's what most people think. It's like, you probably like picked up this terrible habit of gambling. I'm like, first of all, I don't know how. So what I don't know how, and I don't spend money on things I don't know, right? Like, do you feel that you've made it, or like, what do you think is still missing? Like, is there a calling that you feel like that really strong pull from of your life's mission, or are you currently working on your life's mission?
Well, I read a book most recently by the name, well, not too long after selling our auto repair shops and exiting that business, called Halftime by Bob Buford. And that book talks about people that were in my situation, or maybe even younger, that have created a certain level of lifestyle, whether that's in a good paying W-2 job with a good 401k package already established, or whether it's somebody that exited their business, or somebody that's of high affluence that starts looking at things a little bit differently and what their priorities are. And that's one of the reasons why we're starting this Mexico trip, or these trips, because this will be one of two. I know we didn't talk about that. And 2024, our vision is to be doing 3 every single year and develop leaders that can do it whether I do it or not. So I know that the Lord has something much bigger in my life than for what we're currently doing. But I also know that he gives us all gifts and talents and abilities and opportunities that he doesn't give to others. And so Claudia and I are given a lot of opportunities that we do feel it's one of our missions to take advantage of, so that we can show, because I don't personally believe that God wants his children in the bread line, so to speak. I don't think he wants us standing on the street corners begging for money. That's not victorious. That's not living like a child of the King, in my personal opinion. So I honestly believe that he blesses those so they can be a blessing. So our goal is to be a blessing to as many people as we possibly can. And some of the people, that's with money. But some of that people, it's not with money. It's really just sharing what your knowledge is and experience level is, and helping the next person up to the next level, whether that's our kids or the people that he puts in our lives.
Yeah, I what I'm hearing from that is like, I think most people kind of mistaken resource for direct, right? Like relational to just money. But in your book, there's a really funny part that I don't want to give away, but I laugh so hard because you're so resourceful. It's the jeans story.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, this is why. Like, I found it so funny. And so it sounds like, and able to go to the next level, like, which I feel like you and Claudia are both like reaching your next level to give back. From what I take from my life, it's like every new level, there's a new devil, right? Like, what do you think that devil is in this next phase of your transition?
Well, there's an old saying that if Satan can't make you full of sin, he'll make you so busy that you can't forward the kingdom. Right. So that's the next level of sin, I guess, is what did you just call it? I love that phrase.
New level, new devil.
New level, new devil. I love that. So that would be the devil for this level, is for us, for that thing we call greed to kick in for our own personal gain, to distract us from the things that are really important. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm always watching out for that. 100%. What are your true motives?
I see. Yeah, because I think that comes with, like you mentioned from the beginning, like a little ego inflation, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that highly kind of connects to the way we choose to receive and the way we kind of like live in this abundance mindset. Because I was at service on Sunday with Tanner, actually, and what they were saying is just like, like we were, like we're wired for generosity. We're just conditioned to be greedy. But one of Buffett's famous quote is like, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. And coming into that, like how that translates into our real estate market is because people are so fearful right now. They're thinking like, oh, you're investing in multifamily. Like, what does that look like? How does that translate into like you being greedy? And I'm like, no, I just call it like me being a professional opportunist, right? Because opportunities are coming. It's out there. Like we're sitting on it. There's deals sitting in our inboxes right now that I'm like mind blown of how many things that I wasn't able to grasp before that concept kind of comes to mind, because I didn't have that abundance mindset to kind of like receive all of these, right? And with that, it's like, where do you feel like our Vegas market is going?
Well, I honestly believe that we're maybe, you've got a buyer's market phase 1, buyer's market phase 2, seller's market phase 1, seller's market phase 2. I honestly believe that the curve for us is probably somewhere's at the bottom again. People don't realize that. We're starting to see offers come back out, inventory starting to tighten up again. So nobody has a crystal ball, and my challenge is I'm a bit of an optimist regardless of what's right in front of me. My defense mechanism has always been denial, right? So so even if the house is on fire, I'm denying that it's going to burn to the ground, right? So that's just that, and that has always worked for me 100%. So I honestly believe that the Las Vegas market is stale, but not dead. And I don't believe some of these doomsayers that say that we're going to be down in a dead market for a couple, 3 years, or we got another 2008 coming. I don't believe any of that. Now, time may tell me wrong. I certainly don't know it all, but I invest very, very cautiously right now. We're still flipping homes in the Vegas market with my team here, as well as the San Diego market with my team there. We're going to close on a property yesterday, going to close on a property this week over in San Diego, closed on one yesterday and here in Las Vegas. And the reality is things are still happening. You just have to buy them conservatively enough and underwrite conservatively enough that no matter what happens, you're still going to be okay. And I'll give you a perfect example. In San Diego, the house that we're selling this week, when I purchased it, the after repair value was $900,000. I'm in escrow and going to sell at $790,000 and still going to make money.
Oh, wow.
Not a ton of money. We'll make 10, 15,000. Certainly not enough to justify the risk I just took.
Yeah.
But I underwrote it conservatively enough to where even if it dropped $110,000 in after repair value, which it did, there's a very small boutique home that those dropped the fastest over in San Diego. Everything else over there is pretty stable. Yeah. But this type of a home that nosedived very quickly, but we're still going to be okay. Yeah. Yeah. So underwrite conservatively in any market is my motto anyways, right?
Especially coming from California too, which that's where I originally was from. And anytime I hear there's a property in California, I'm like, I'm just going to hold off. I'm just going to like play where I know and play to my strengths right now, which is not in California. So it sounds like you and Claudia like work together a lot, right? Like you guys underwrite together, run your businesses together. Like what does that look like? Like how do you keep your marriage healthy being business partners as well as like life partners?
Well, an husband has to know where the line is and and he also has to agree to himself for his own joys, for the joy of himself, to not push his wife to the line every single day or every single week. So I know where my wife's line is of how much she can handle of me and of anything I'm going to put on her plate. And I know when to stop putting things on her plate and when to stop giving her too much of me. That's really the secret. And everybody has to determine where that line is for their marriage. My wife has roles that she does, which is more behind the scenes and document preparation and providing documents for loans and for different things that we do. I'm more of the frontline guy. I do the underwriting. I do the negotiating. I do the deal finding, all of that sort of stuff. So we just determining who's doing what. I don't step into her bounds and she doesn't necessarily step into my bounds, although we will give opinions of how we feel about what each other's what their boundaries are, but I don't necessarily step into those too often unnecessarily.
Yeah. I really like that separation of like work and, your love life so that it doesn't kind of bleed into each other. And then if there's something that's going on at work, you don't want it to kind of reflect on your personal relationship too, because you have to go home to each other and kind of still be in that sound, safe space together. And then you don't want it to come from like a conflict from work. With that being said, like, what do you think? What do you think is like the hardest habit for people to break? Like, do you have any current habits that you want to get better on, or is there something that you want to break?
I don't have any habits that I'm really trying to break right at the moment, to be honest with you. I'm currently going through I have a trainer for my health. I've had many strength trainers over the years. This particular one specializes in not weight loss, but fat loss. So trying to change my body fat, composition. Body composition, body fat. So that I'm currently working on, which does have me changing. Okay, I'm just going to be completely confessional right now. I love chocolate. So,
Same here. This is why we're friends.
So chocolate, cake. Okay, I love cookies. I love all that stuff. I love, right? So that is okay. You caught me. That is a habit I'm trying to break, and only do it on cheat days because it's okay to do it. You just can't do it every day.
Yeah.
If left to my own devices, I will do it every day, right? So,
Yeah.
so the goal naturally is to change eating habits and move things around so that things move around.
Yeah, because the old saying is like everything's good in moderation or whatever. But at the same time, I'm like, no, there's some days I just want to sit there and binge eat like a whole bag of something. And it just feels really good. It's very gluttonous. It's very like pleasure driven, which is pure out of ego, right? Because you're just kind of like fixing something. You're like,
salt or sweet, give me a bag.
Right?
Doesn't matter.
So it sounds like you've worked on your relationship with yourself quite a bit since, you kind of made that shift to drastically change your life, like the day you've had enough and the day that you're like, okay, this is it. Like I can no longer go down that path. So for those that are still currently suffering in whatever they're suffering from, whatever habits they're trying to break or any addictions that they're still suffering with, like what would you say to them if you were if it were your younger self?
It starts with little changes, right? So we didn't get to where we are with the place that we're saying, okay, I'm done. Chapter 1, you got to be done. You don't get to the point where you are, where you want to make those changes overnight. And you're not going to get back overnight. Nobody can make those changes overnight, but you can make a decision overnight to make the change and go in a whole new direction. That's my personal philosophy. I believe it 100%. But until, until we say we're done, but then we've got to take action, right? Action that, we don't go to the gym once a week, once a month and expect to see changes, right? That is a continual, ongoing thing that we've got to do over and over and over again. There's no difference with any change that we want to make in our lives, whether we want to become a better cook, whether we want to get rid of the cookies at night. All those things that we want to do are the gradual thing that we have to do a little bit every day, a little bit every day, a little bit every day. At this stage, I want to be embarrassed of the self that I am today a year from now. So a year from now, I want to look back and I want to be embarrassed of the person that I was today. So my goal is to make, like right now, as I sit here talking to you, Tawny, I am very, very happy with myself from yesterday. Because of the results and the fruit that have materialized in my world because of the actions I took long ago. So I want to be just as happy with my today self a year from now when I look back because of the fruit that continues to materialize itself in my life.
Wow, that's really powerful because there's a thing that's like the only person that you should make proud is your younger self and your older self, right? So the two versions of being like your true authentic self. And I think that's what people kind of lack a lot due to social media too, and that form of like addiction to external achievements or external validation just to feel like that self-worth, that connection to other people. And I feel like it manifests in a lot of people-pleasing patterns. And that's something that I kind of broke too, is because I woke up and I realized I'm like, I started questioning things like, are these people in my life because they want to be in my life, or is because I'm giving them a reason to stay? Like there's too many advantages that, they can't say no to or whatever. So do you have what's on your bucket list that you and Claudia would love to do in your personal life together?
Well, we still have some places in the world we haven't seen, right? So we're going to Egypt this year.
Oh, fun.
We spend a month every year in our motorhome. So we'll travel in the month of June this year. We'll be traveling around the country in our motorhome to different destinations, seeing friends, relatives, and neighbors that we don't regularly see. And the other things that we want to do is we want to build this ministry down in Mexico, building homes on a regular basis. That's something that's been on our bucket list. And I have a long list of bucket list items that we just chip away a little bit every single year. Things that, every 2 years, and I think we're going to bring it down to a year. I talked to my sons about it. My two boys, I have a 36-year-old son and a 32-year-old son, and we go do a boy adventure. We've been down into the Grand Canyon for 6 nights and five nights and 6 days, and went rim to rim to rim with backpacks on our back, sleeping in tents. It was a wonderful experience. We've been down whitewater rafting in Utah last year. So we're I have bucket list items that involve my wife, my kids, and then as a family, for the first time ever, we're all going to Hawaii this year as a bucket list item to fly the kids and their spouses and our grandkids into Hawaii and spend a week at a VRBO over there. So
have you been?
I've been to every island.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Okay.
But my kids have never been.
Oh,
Yes.
sweet. Oh, that's such a sweet moment. So speaking on like doing something, so there's a lot of people that faces a lot of discomfort, like even maybe hearing like our messages on how we drastically changed their life. Like, what would be your advice to them, like in this very moment? It's just like what advice would you give them for the people that are afraid of change?
Pull out a piece of paper and write down. You just hit the nail on the head. Some bucket list items, right? All the things that you want to accomplish in your world, in your lifetime, all of them, every single one. And just write and write and write and write until it gets a little bit painful. Keep going a little bit. But when you're done and you're out of gas, now go down the left-hand side and put 10-year, 5-year, 3-year, 1 year next to all those items. And then start figuring out where you're going to be 1 year from now and start checking off those lines that are 1 year, and then start putting a plan for each one of those. What is the first 5 things that I need to do for this one item that 1 year from now, I want to look back and be happy that I went through this exercise, and then start working on those 5 things for those 5 items.
Wow, that's amazing. That's actually something that I started doing earlier this year, is like like strategizing my life based on like around my goals and my values and like what I want to accomplish. That's because like I said, right? Like I don't want to wake up a year from now like, damn, I'm doing the same shit over and over. So with that being said, like I just want to acknowledge you for being here today. Like I really honor your story, and I feel like that spiritual alignment kind of couldn't have come like at a better time. You know what I mean? For us to have this conversation and kind of sit down and like share our message with others, because I feel like it's such a powerful movement that needs to happen more as a collective shift to kind of move forward and be more change makers. Like there needs to be more catalysts into the world that actually doesn't come from like, glam and glory and like, rags and riches stories, a little different, but people that I call like that kind of have like the weird, like they took themselves to hell and they kind of redeemed, like the redemption story, that I think it's like much more powerful than if you're just like, oh, I was broken, now I'm rich. You know what I mean? So with that being said, like so I just want to end on like, what are the 3 philosophies, if all of your life's work had to go with you into your life's transition, right? Like what are 3 messages or lessons or philosophies that you believe to be true that you can leave this world with?
Well, the first one is, and it's a personal philosophy of my own that I think is, I know everybody doesn't adopt the same thinking, but I honestly believe that my salvation and my faith in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is numero uno for me. And for me personally, I believe that anybody's success should be based upon that. I know many of the people that see this podcast may not necessarily agree with that, but that's my philosophy. Number 1, get right with your God and chase after him with a fervence so that you can understand what that is and pass it down to the next generation. I personally believe that we are 1 generation away from Christianity not being around anymore. So it's up to us to continue to teach that. So that's number 1. Number 2, for those that aren't already married or haven't found a significant other, that is going to be the most important relationship that you ever have in your world, because 1 can touch 1,000, 2 can touch 100,000. 2 people yoked alike that are 100% focused in the same direction will change the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think that's very, very important. And then number 3 would really be be in the moment. We all struggle with that. I do as well, but it's a constant reminder to me. Everybody, especially in this fast-paced drive-through social media world, it's on to the next thing. When's my next meeting? When's the next thing? What's the next to-do list item I need to do? What's the quarterly action plan? What are we going to get accomplished by the end of the year? How are we doing our goals? When, you know what? I just want to be here with you right now. Right now, right here and now is the most important thing, because that's what we get to leave behind. We get the 2 things that I get to leave with my kids are the legacy that I get to leave with them is a relationship with the Lord, number 1. And number 2, the way that I made them feel, the loving, caring person that I am, that everybody doesn't get to see. Because they're my inner circle, right? So the key thing is to expand your inner circle so that more people get to see that loving, kind side of you, right? And be in the moment.
Wow. whew, like I have chills. I like that you said that. Now the people are going to resonate with that.